Because of a lack of written records from Native American cultures, it's hard to piece together the what, when, and why of things that happened before Europeans spread throughout America. We have genetic and archaeological evidence, but those only get us so far. And we have oral history, but spoken stories without written records should always be taken with a grain of salt. This is, of course, true of the Inuit people, commonly known as Eskimos. These are Native Americans who live in the far northern parts of Canada, Alaska, and Greenland. We do, however, have one European source recording these unlikely people coming from maybe just as unlikely a place: the Vikings. During the post-Roman Dark Ages in southern Europe, northern Europe was having a renaissance in naval exploration. In this window of a few hundred years, groups of individuals from Scandinavia simply got on boats and went wherever they had a mind to. Some of them traded with the people they found, some of them built houses and started farming, and some of them stole gold, wives, and other valuables before going back home. They were seen as far east as Constantinople and further, and they explored previously unknown lands to the west across the Atlantic. Vikings were the first humans we know of in Iceland, starting a whole society there from which grew the country we know today. From there, some of them decided to go even further west where they found Greenland, and then even further where they landed on what they described as a land of plenty which they called Vinland, after the grapes they found there. While they were there, they found a group of people that no European had seen before. They named these people Skraelings, and on their first encounter they described them as black and ill-favored with coarse hair, large eyes, and broad cheeks. Their writings about them include two significant encounters, one for trade and one for war. The first, they haggled, the Skraelings selling fur winter clothing and the Vikings selling bits of red cloth that the natives were especially interested in. We don't know why. Although the Skraelings were interested in metal weapons, the Vikings refused to sell them. The second encounter, hundreds of Skraelings approached dozens of Vikings. They fought using primarily slings loaded with sharp stones. Although the Vikings were better equipped for combat, the Skraeling numbers and their ability to use fear tactics ultimately led to the surviving Vikings abandoning the paradise of Vinland and returning where they came from. As far as their lifestyle goes, they have been hunting whales for as long as we know. They eat the meat and use the skin and bones for tools, and they carve mini figurines out of the bones and ivory. The Vikings mentioned catching a whale themselves while they were in Vinland. They also had a method of hunting seals by watching air holes in a layer of ice and waiting for the animals to come up to breathe. They used single-person boats, which they called kayaks, the design of which has been copied by people in the larger world. They knew how to navigate using stars, and they were the ones who bred huskies as sled dogs. Throughout pre-contact history, and even until recent times, Inuit lifestyle has had little change.